So how long were you guys together before you got engaged?
Things actually happened pretty fast with us. We dated for about 2 months before he actually brought the idea of marriage. Yeah, so it wasn't long because with him, I think for some reason at that time the pieces felt like they fit, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah,
2 months.
2 months. Yes, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, two
Okay.
months. Yeah.
So from then, both of you were preparing for the
Yes.
wedding, I guess.
Mm,
When,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, 2 months, and he brought the idea of. Okay, the thing is, my ex, it was never really like got down on one knee, will you marry me kind of thing. It was just like we were just talking on WhatsApp at that time, and he brought the idea of he wanted to introduce me to his mum. And he said something along the lines that, well, in my culture, if I'm doing introducing you to my mom, that pretty much means that it's heading into marriage. So basically, that was his proposal. That's how the idea of marriage came about. And it wasn't like long after that we would just, we were out shopping, and it was kind of on a whim. He said that he wants to get me a ring for a gift, and we took that as our promise, or maybe slash engagement ring, would you know? And then yeah, I mean, we talked about marriage moving forward after that. Yeah.
But were wedding preparations underway as well?
Not really, because that's when I think the problem started arising, especially from my side. My mom's, there was a little bit when I introduced the idea of marriage to my mom. She said that her concern was that, oh, aren't you going into this too fast? You barely know him. And of course, that was that whole question of the whole cultural clash thing. So there was some hesitance from my mom, which at that time, I mean, in my mind, I was set to go ahead with the wedding. But because there was that hesitance from my mom, things were, I came to a halt for a bit. But ultimately, from the beginning, I did see that I always thought that we were going to walk down the aisle, so to say. Yeah.
You mentioned culture clash a few
Mhm.
times already.
Mhm.
What is he
Yes.
foreign? Is he local? Different?
He's foreign, but
I
he
see.
has a PR here. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
see.
Mm.
Okay. So eventually, were you guys still together after that, or how long were
The
you together
hesitance from my
before?
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
after.
still. I actually didn't make it a point to actually tell him because of, I think, just wanting to not offend him. I didn't tell him that, oh, there's a little bit of hesitance from my mom. I just, assumed that, when we would get closer to the wedding date, that everything would work out and my mom would just have to accept it as it is. Yeah, so
Okay.
But
we
what?
still proceeded. Yeah,
Okay.
partly on my part because I didn't feel the need to mention to him that my mom had a problem with you being from a different culture, because it was just, to me, something that was petty and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what caused the breakup?
Okay, so ultimately what caused the breakup was when both families from his side and my side finally sat down to set a date to everything, the wedding, so on and so forth. That's when the problems transpired. To put things in a nutshell, he said that when my mom sat down with your mom, that's when I really began to see the hesitance from her. And he said for his culture, a big part of getting married, or a big part of marriage life, is the blessings from the other side of the family. And I just didn't feel that connection from your side. My mom didn't feel it, and he said it's just something that seems like it's not going to work out in the long run. Yeah, so that's when the problems really became apparent. And I mean, I tried to reason at that time, of course, but when it's just one party that's fighting for it, you can't really sort of salvage it anymore, I guess.
Mm,
Yeah. Mm.
okay. Um, I'm just thinking, a marriage, yes, it's about blending two families
Yes,
together,
definitely. Yeah.
but ultimately it's about two people who love each other, who wants to spend the rest of their
Thick,
lives
thick and
together.
thin. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So at this point, he ultimately let your family dictate whether or not he wanted to move on with this relationship.
No, in a way, he wasn't the one who let my family dictate. Like, in a way, he was one who made the final call, but he said it's not because of him, it's the circumstances. Like, we can't possibly going on with this marriage when we know that there's so much hesitation from your mother, right? And and he said that it makes my mom very sad to see that your mom's not 100% in this. And, that's something that I can't see my mom going through because, my mom wants me to be um, held on a pedestal sort of thing, when once I get married, like to the girl's family. So really it was that question of the whole cultural clash and the understanding where I think the two families just couldn't sort of meet halfway, really.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm.
So if your mom were to, not be hesitant about this relationship, do you think you would have gone ahead and got married to this guy?
I think I would have, but in hindsight, I mean, it's been a year now since the breakup. It was really hard at first to sort of digest the facts, and at first it just seemed like it ended over something so petty, just because the two families couldn't meet halfway, and it was just
Mm,
because of this cultural clash, so to say. But in hindsight, you kind of see things for the bigger picture, and in it you kind of realize that, well, if the marriage had gone on anyways, you kind of see what problems would have maybe come up along the way, and I think that's something that's not ideal for marriage in the long run.
okay.
What? Because you feel like he's being a bit petty, or
No, I feel that ultimately, I mean, I don't blame him for feeling hurt, or his mum feeling hurt that there was resistance from my mum. I don't
Mm,
blame him for that, but I just feel that we made a promise for through thick and thin, ultimately, that he just didn't fight for me anymore. That he should have fought for it, but he
yeah.
didn't,
Mm,
and that's not the kind of person that I do want to spend the rest of my life with. I mean,
yeah.
this was just, I think it was the first big obstacle that we had to go through, and he failed me on that. And when I look back on all this over the past year, that's just something that I don't want my future spouse to not be able to stick up for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though both of you were not together for a very, very long time.
Maybe one. Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone still needs some time to grieve a broken
Of
relationship,
course.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to get to this point of acceptance? It's been a year now. Do you think you've
Mhm.
accepted the
Yeah,
fact?
I definitely accepted. How long did it take? But that's the thing. When it happened, I never gave myself a timeline. Let's say, I never said to myself, "Oh, within 2 months I have to get over this."
Yeah.
No, I just said to myself, take as long as you want. Like, take a day at a time. Really grieve it out. I never felt embarrassed, like telling my friends, like, "Oh, I listened to this song and I cried," and I just really took a day at a time. But and once you just be easy on yourself, I think, and one day you're just gonna, for me, one day you're just gonna wake up and all those puzzles fit, and you're just gonna feel okay, that you're okay. So I said, so to me, it's really just giving yourself time, not setting a time limit, and yeah, take it a day at a time.
do you get angry at anything? Like, man, at this time I would have been married, but because of this and this and this, do you still go
In
through
the
that?
beginning, yes. In the beginning, yes. In the first few initial months, definitely. I just couldn't quite make sense of everything.
Mm.
But now, a year on, thinking back in hindsight, because of the other problems that I may have turned a blind eye on, and
Mm.
I see ideally why the marriage might not have worked out. Yeah.
But did you get angry as well in the beginning with your mom?
Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you tell her that?
I think, I think in the Asian culture, right, the younger generation, when it comes to elders, we tend to have this precedence where we suppress our anger. But there was that sort of a passive aggressive kind of attitude going on for a while. But I just, I just kept it in mostly, yeah. And even if I expressed any anger, it was mostly just passive aggressive. Yeah,
But now
yeah.
no more, right?
No, I've come to accept. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it's all good now. Yeah. Because I
So, yeah.
really do see that maybe her hesitance or her doubts um, were really a basis for something. Because as cheesy, as corny as this might seem, but a mother's instinct sometimes. So I always
Mm-mm.
think about that. Yeah, when
Mothers know best. Yeah.
yes, mother knows best, and a mother's instinct is like no other. So I always think about that when yeah.
Do you think life has changed for you after this incident?
Yeah, change, not, I'd say change. I
Or
think
have you maybe you started looking at life a little bit more differently or something?
um, what's changed for me was that I really understand the struggles. Like I really thought that marriage, or two people getting together was something that was so easy, which just it's just like a fairy tale. Like, oh, the boy and girl meet, fall in love, and and they get married. And I thought,
Yeah.
something, it was just as simple as that. But now I know that there are so many other pieces that fall into the bigger picture. It's marriage is not easy, and I think that you really need to piece all the other parts together um, um, before settling down. And I think for women, for Asian women, there's this pressure to get married before 30, and it's so prevalent. But I really just want to say that to all the single ladies out there, stay strong, find your passions, and don't just get sucked into this, oh, I'm 30, I'm not married yet. No, like I believe that you should find yourself, really work on yourself, and if it's right, the time will come for you. Yeah.
Is marriage still important to you?
Yeah, it is, but I've sort of realigned that mindset that it's important, but ultimately I want it to last, and I want it to fit, and I definitely don't want to get married just for the sake of getting married. I want the pieces to fit, and I want it to be with the right person who we understand each other, who support each other, and yeah. And
So
what's changed for me, that I know now that marriage is definitely not a walk in the park anymore. Yeah.
The walk in Jurassic Park, that's what they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
actually you said the right person. Who
Mm.
is the right person right now? Do you have a different view of who the right person is after this experience?
Mm. I think the right person is somebody that is willing to accommodate for you, and the same for you, that you're willing to meet him halfway as well. Like I said, I think a big factor, and in which why I was thankful that in a way that I didn't end up with my ex, was because I felt that he didn't stick up for me, right? And I think moving forward, you need to find somebody who, yeah, despite petty matters, despite whatever troublesome issues you might have, somebody that's just going to be with you through thick and thin, in every sense of that word. I think that's important. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that your first thing right now? on Tinder. It's like, are you gonna stick up for me?
Actually, on that, are you still on the dating app? Are you actively looking?
Yeah, I'm still looking, but a little bit more cautious. And moving on from that, I definitely know, what to spot the red flags, so on and so forth. Yeah. So yeah.
So you're a bit more wary about giving your heart
Definitely,
out.
definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give to someone who is probably going through something or probably just been left at the altar?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to guys and girls? Yeah.
Okay, and this is something that I've said to myself. Again, I'll reiterate my point that you should take a day at a time. You shouldn't say to yourself, oh, in 3 months I should be over this person and I should be with a new person. No, I mean, grieve it out as much as you can. Because sometimes when you suppress your emotions and you pretend that you're fine, you don't actually let your emotions out, right? So it's fine, grieve it out. When you hear a sad song, you want to cry and be reminded of them. I think that's absolutely fine. To me, just get it out of your system. So you won't have to revisit those emotions. And this is my friend, a good friend of mine said this to me when 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 I just had my breakup. She said, all that love that you've invested in this other person, all that effort, and that you feel that's sort of gone to waste now. She said, take it back and give it to yourself. So really just explore your passions, do whatever you want to do, reconnect with old friends and just find yourself, and you'll be okay. It's not the healing process, it's not a walk in the park. Again, because it's messy, like healing from a broken heart is messy, but in due time you will be okay. Yeah, those feelings of hurt won't really be as painful as anymore. Yeah.
Have you lost your taste for foreign men, and are you only going for local men now?
I can't answer that question. Well, after my whole ordeal, I think I've sort of learned my lesson. Can I say that I try to stick to local men, but I mean, ultimately, if it's in my, for Malays, we have this saying, right? Like that your soulmate is your jodoh.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if my jodoh is with a foreign man, I really can't do anything about that. But yeah, for now, just playing it safe, local men for now.
Heart wants what it wants, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? What if the next guy is, and then you're like, wow, for the next guy, and he happens to be divorced and has kids and stuff
Okay.
like this. How does that work?
For me, I've really never had an issue with divorced people. I've dated divorced men and with kids, For me, that's never has been an issue. So yeah, I don't see why not. I'm not one to judge a person based on their past or anything like that.
And is that your opening line now? Like, so my mom's a bit hesitant about you. Like, then see what he says. Hesitate lah. It's just about us. Is that your first thing? Like, he's a keeper.
Depends. Hesitant on what the cult. Like if he's foreign, I would have to give him the heads up.
Or hesitant. If your mom is hesitant about him, let's just say you're like, I don't know, my mom's a bit hesitant about whether you're really into me or not. Then he
Uh-huh.
says, I don't care what your mom says. I'm into you, and that's it. Is that how it's gonna flow? Like that's your next guy?
No, I'm sure Rose has her own family values as well, right? You value and respect your mom as well.
Well, ultimately, yeah, of course, I value and appreciate her opinions. But ultimately, if like JD said, if the guy said, so what? Like, if he says, I'm willing to fight through those concerns, I'm willing to prove myself, then yeah, definitely, why not? I think he is the keeper. But in the case of my ex, he wasn't willing to fight through that. So I think there's a difference there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rose, for those really
No
good
worries. My
advice.
pleasure.
Really. Thank you so much, and all the best.
No, it's a pleasure.